the 14th chapter. Thank you. Thank you. The book of Numbers, the 14th chapter. Leading lady sent her love. She's in Maryland. She's teaching her first class at the Intervision, and she'll be out of there sometime today to head home. But yeah, she's been up there all day, Friday, Saturday, and today. So she says she wanted to be here because that would mean a couple of Sundays in a row she going again. And so she sent her loves and tell you guys that she loves you and she'll see you next Sunday. The book of Numbers, the 14th chapter. I'm going to read verse 24. Verse 24. I'm going to read from the Amplified Version and the New Living Translation. And the words recorded says, "But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit, has followed me and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land which he entered, and his descendants shall take possession of it." The New Living Translation reads, "But my servant Caleb has a different attitude than the others have. He has remained loyal to me, so I will bring him into the land he explored. His descendants will possess their full share of the land." Now, our empowering thought today is going to be a different spirit. A different spirit. A different spirit. You ever been around somebody and it's like, well, I better change that. I better not say that one. So if you ever been around people, let's say you go Christmas shopping is when you go Christmas shopping and you come out of the store and there's just droves of people walking down the road and you have to go in the directions they are coming. And so you have to skip around, move around, twist around. Ooh, excuse me, as you're going through, as the majority of people come towards you. That could be tiring because you're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of saying excuse me, I'm just going to push right through. Come on, be honest. Move out of the way. Or you try to get far to the right as possible, and so you don't have to go through the crowd, but there's always people right in the front of you not willing to move. And so they get an attitude, you get an attitude, and y'all brush off on each other. Y'all know how y'all do. Come on. And keep moving. Because there's just some things you just have to go against the flow. Sometimes you can't be the status quo. Sometimes you have to be different. Especially when you look at your life of salvation or this Christian walk. Most of us are in the flow. We are in the flow of tradition. We are in the flow of the status quo. But sometimes you have to buck the system. Sometimes you have to say, I'm not feeling that. I'm going to go. And so what happens with us is Spirit in us is telling us to do something a little different, right? And because the status quo is doing this, what do we end up doing? The status quo. And the Spirit is telling you, I didn't tell you that. I don't want you to do that. I want you to go in a different way. I want you to do a different thing. I want you to act a certain way. I want you to act differently. And what happens is instead of us being able to do what Spirit says, we are so pressured by those around us, we end up following them, even though we know in our heart we shouldn't. And so this kind of one of those stories today that I'm going to share, you're going to have to work with me, because in order for us to get to where our text is, I have to set up the story so you'll understand what is happening. So we are in the fourth book of the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible. That's what that's called. It's also known as the Torah. It's also known as the Law. So this is the 4th book, which is the book of Numbers. This is the story of Israel's journey from Egypt to Jerusalem. This is a story of an enslaved people who left Egypt after 400 years, 423 to be exact, years of slavery. And they set out to this unknown desert, trusting their leader's promise that they would reach the land promised to their forefathers. After the Israelites were freed from Egypt, God had great things in store for them. God told Moses to send 12 men to spy out the land of Canaan, and so Moses sent them out on this reconnaissance mission. The elected 12 men were just not your average Joes. They were the pick of the litter. They were military and political hierarchy at the time. They were the people who transformed whatever was going to happen with the children of Israel. So when they speak, the people will listen. Caleb and Joshua, in addition to 12 others, were sent on this mission. This mission took them 40 days, and then they returned to give their report, quoting, "Yes, the land is amazing, flowing with milk and honey. Here are the fruits." And those fruits the grapes were so big that they had to put them on sticks and carry it by 2 men. He said, "Here it is. You can see it." Tell somebody you can see it. Not only could they see it, they got a taste of it. Oh, come on, somebody. But what happened, there were, out of those 12, there were 10 who did not look at the fruit of the land. They look at the circumstances of the land. And the circumstances of the land, they said, however, the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are fortified and very large. The Amalekites dwell in the land. Remember, just as they left Egypt, they were set upon by the gangs, and they are well more stronger than we are. The Hittites, the Jebusites, and the Amorites dwell in the hill country, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the Jordan. Now, this is what the 10 is seeing, because they're looking at the circumstances. Now, if you go back to the earlier book in Exodus, you will see that Moses told them who were in the land before they even left Egypt. Right? So it wasn't like they changed. Are y'all following me? The people are still the people. But they saw the people instead of God. So only 2 of the 12 had a different view. Joshua, Moses' assistant or his armor bearer, and another man called Caleb. These 2 offered a voice that differed from the status quo. They offered a voice that differed from the uniform reports of this is going to be bad, bad, bad. We don't have a chance. They offered to be different and not be deterred by who was in the land, because they saw God. Caleb said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. But the choir of the 10 that slandered the land drowned them out. Remember, I said these were prominent military and political leaders who insisted. So they looked at Caleb and Joshua and saw them as, y'all don't know what y'all are talking about. These men are in position of authority. They have been trained to look and see. So therefore, we want to go with what they see because they are the generals of the army. Surely they know if we can take the land or not. And so Joshua and Caleb were drowned out. The men keep saying they are stronger than we. We are not able to go against them. They are giants in the land, and we seemed ourselves like grasshoppers. What is the first teaching of our text? Is that fear begins with low self-esteem. Fear begins with low self-esteem. If you see yourself as low, fear will take. If you don't see it in yourself, you're not going to do it. If somebody else's presence makes you shrink, come on, somebody. If somebody else's presence makes you, I don't care who it is, if somebody else's presence makes you shrink, you know you are already afraid. And so what you need to know is how you see yourself always precede how you move. So if you are a low person of low self-esteem, that is always going to be your driving factor. Because you have to size yourself up and you have to put yourself in a place where you're not comfortable in order to move. So because we are creatures of habit, we would rather stay in the comfortable place than to put ourselves in an uncomfortable place. Tell somebody, fear begins with low self-esteem. Why is that important? It's because the 10 spies feared who was in the land. Now, we talking generals and political giants, and they feared what was in the land, something they do all the time. And so what's the next thing I need you to understand? When you do something all the time, you get so comfortable that you can't see the truth. Are y'all still with me? And so in this situation, the challenge appears to be an immense mountain they cannot overcome. Why? Because they saw themselves as grasshoppers. They saw themselves as not being able to take the land. It doesn't matter what God had previously done. It doesn't matter even with these 10 that when they went searching for them, that Rahab hid and they let them down the back way and they come back. It doesn't matter what provisions God had previously done for them. All they could see was the current circumstances. Does that sound like us? Doesn't matter what God do, how he do, when he do, how long he does it, all we can see is, I'm broke right now. I need this right now. I don't have this right now. It doesn't matter how God moved the whole universe to wake you up this morning. You wake up saying, well, I don't have. And so even though they were there, Joshua and Caleb did not argue with the facts of the circumstances. They didn't even, rather, they predicted the conclusion. We can take the land. I'm not saying that what you said is not a fact. What I'm saying is we can take the land with those facts. Come on, somebody. And so this is what he said on Numbers 14:7-9. He said, the land which we passed through to spy it out is an exceedingly good land. Do not fear the people. I know that's a fact, that you're afraid of them. But do not fear, for they are bread to us. Tell somebody that's a different spirit right there. He said, they bread to us. And matter of fact, I'm feeling a little hungry. Come on, somebody. We can go up and get it because I'm hungry. Y'all ever did Les Miles? He always said, I'm hungry. He said, so they are bread for us. Listen, this is when these two, Caleb and Joshua, well, Caleb really, but Joshua was a warrior. He says this, their protection is removed from them. How did he know that? And he said, why? Because the Lord is with us. Don't fear them, he says again. And so no matter how Caleb and Joshua spoke, was for naught. Why? Because we are used to those who are in political positions and general positions that their word has to be true. We have these two, I don't know where they came from, but anyway, they're trying to make us go out there and get beat up. They're trying to push us out and to do something. And what if the Lord's not with us? Well, he's been with you to this point. Why would he leave you now? Right? And so this was all for naught. So they kind of kept their peace. Then the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept all night. Come on, somebody. Now, that's a slave mentality. They wept all night, and this is what they said to one another. And we're in the political season, so this is not a political message, but this is going to help you. This is what they, out of fear and out of the slave mentality, this is what they said. Let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt. Let us choose another leader. Now, Moses sent them. He ain't said nothing. They so scared. Now they say we even gonna get rid of the leader who ain't had nothing to do with us going to the. Gonna get rid of the leader. No, I'm not even gonna say that. That's personal. And so what happens? They said all night now they're whining. And they come out with the let's get a leader who will take us back to slavery. Take us back to being whipped. Take us back to raping our children. Take us back to no education. Take us back to no straw to make the bricks. Take us back. Who needs the land of Israel or the Canaanites where listen, Here is your promised land sitting in your face, and you are so scared, you said, who need it? Now, that really sounds like us. Who needs, in other words, they're saying, who needs this freedom? Well, because all the troubles we will find there if we go. Listen, y'all came out of hell. And you forget the hell you came out of, and you worry about something you don't even know what's going to happen because you haven't entered the promise. This is where we find the church. We are so afraid to enter God's promise that we rather stay in tradition. I'd rather go to a church where you cuss me out and treat me nasty and take all of my money. I'd rather you lie to me and say that's God. I'd rather you tell me I'm going to hell. I'd rather you put me in judgment. I'd rather you condemn everything. I'd rather you do that than to walk in the freedom of. Are y'all still with me? Don't leave me yet now. And so why? He said, this is how our forefathers were sentenced to remain and wander. Why? Because they did not believe. They won't enter the promised land. Tell somebody they won't do it. They won't enter the promise. They won't enter what God has for them. They won't enter the promise God made to you. You won't enter it because of some fear. Because of what somebody else may say. Tell somebody you got to have a different spirit. A very good friend of mine passed. And they'll be having this homegoing sometime this week, I believe. The one thing that I loved about him more than anything is that, first of all, he did have a different spirit. And I don't care who you are, what you say, how you treat him, it never pushed him off his responsibilities. It never he never questioned, well, I'm going to step back and let them do it since they don't want me to, they push it. He still pushed his way. Why? Because he said, God called me to do this. Nobody else in here called me. God called me to, and God called me to do this. Which was really helpful to me. I was the one who was the preacher. And there were times I said, shoot, they got, cussing spirit almost got me. They can have it. I stepped back in a minute and said, that ain't a fight I want to fight today. That ain't a fight I'm going to take on this month. Matter of fact, do whatever y'all want to do. If it's that important to you, maybe God did call you to do it, and maybe I'm out of my lane, so I'm going to step on back here. Not understanding, the spirit in me was saying, no, you better step up. And I was like, not today. I know what you're telling me, spirit, but are y'all still with me? And so what happened is God got angry. And his anger was like, God, doggone it. First of all, when I brought you out of Egypt, I know you have a slave mentality, so that's why I took you the long way to the promise instead of the short way. Exodus 13:7. Then I thought we had worked the issues out, but here it is on the eve of your breakthrough. You want to jump stupid. On the eve of your breakthrough. Tomorrow we're going to take a bath and get ready to go in. you don't want to get in the bathtub. So God is angry. And I'm trying to make it funny for you because some of us are dealing with this in our hearts right now. You are right at the tub of your breakthrough and you won't get in. You won't take the 3 days of washing to consecrate yourself for the passing over into the promise. You are right there. You at the door. Matter of fact, the door's open and you looking at the promise. You can taste it. Somebody brought you back and said, taste it. That is good. That's the best grape I ever toasted in my life. Girl, where you get that from? Right there. Girl, can you go get me another one? Because we don't want to do our work. Tell somebody, you got to do your work, baby. I went and got the grape so you can taste it. I've already been in the promise. Why would I go backward to go to the promise and come back when you can do the same steps? Tell somebody, you got to do your work. You have to be willing to go get what's yours. See, the grape I took was the grape I like, because I like the big, juicy red grapes. You might like the green grape, and it's sitting right next to the red grape. But you got to go get the green grape, because I don't like green grapes, and I'm not going over there. I'm not wasting my time in the green grapes when I can get these big, juicy red grapes over here. Girl, no. You just go get your red grapes and just reach over and grab a green one for me. No. Do your work. Tell your neighbor, do your work. Caleb said, we can take this land. I know we outnumbered, but God already told us it's ours. We can do it. He said, if the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us. You are the delight of the Lord. God has set you apart. You are separated from the rest of them. So clearly God delights in you. So therefore the promise is yours to be taken. But you keep going back to the slave mentality. Well, God might be mad with me. Why? I don't know. But you know, I did look at so-and-so's wrong. And he's already paid the price. He's not coming to do that again. So there's nothing you can do that can put you out of the will of God. Ooh, tell somebody, did you hear that? There's nothing you can do that puts you out of the will of God. All you are going to do is reap what the spiritual law says. And even in that, if you say, God, forgive me, there's grace. And so, because of the Israelites' doubt, God got so angry. Listen, I couldn't even blame God on this one. You're right at the door. We about to go in. We about to march in. We about to have this anniversary, and we about to do this thing, and now you freaking out. Tell somebody, I know you got anxieties. See, y'all didn't call it that, huh? It's exactly what it is. And whenever we come into a point where we're getting ready to surpass where we've ever been and go into something greater that we don't know about, our anxiety kicks in. And then we start acting crazy. Come on, somebody. We start making people mad, treating people crazy, not because we want to do it. Is my anxiety too high and I can't get this energy out and I don't know what to do? So my mind says, do what you've always done. Tell somebody, you got to have a different spirit. And so the 10, they did what they've always done. The anxiety of going into promise caused them to revert back to their old behaviors. Only 2 people said, it's ours. We can do this. We got it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Yeah, they are in the land, but we already know that. And clearly, you can't be freaked out because God took us the long way to prepare us for the promise. So therefore, we should be ready to go get it. So what did God do in all of that time to prepare us for the promise that we can't recall right now? Ask yourself that. What has God prepared you for, and you at the door of the promise, and you afraid to go in? He's already prepared you for the promise. Tell somebody, you ready? It's time to go get what's rightfully your. I don't care who's in the land. Better yet, I don't care who's in the driver's seat. Come on, somebody. I don't care who's in the house. I don't care who's in the job. I don't care who's at the college. I don't care who's done the business before. It's your time. Tell somebody, you got to have a different spirit. And so our text says, but my servant Caleb has a different spirit than the others. He had a different spirit than his peers. He didn't succumb to the peer pressure to choose to believe in the faithfulness and the strength. He stayed right there and said, "Nah, God, I know what God told me. This is my land. This is my mountain. I don't care what y'all see, but I know what God told me." He did not believe that they could not be. He didn't see any giants in the land, to be honest with you. He just saw some people walking around and said, okay, they're just keeping it till we get it. All right? And the Bible even tells us that God doesn't give you barren land. He always has somebody in the land before to take care of it so you don't have to do all the work. Come on, somebody. So they do the work and you come and possess what is left. Are y'all with me? And so Caleb is holding on for as long as it takes to realize his promise to come true. Here it is that we don't talk about. They wandered for 40 years. Caleb had to wait 40 years for what God told him. Not because he didn't believe. It was those who he associated with caused him to suffer. Joshua, the heir apparent to the leadership, had to wait an additional 40 years before he can take over. Not because he wasn't ready, but because those he associated with wasn't ready. Oh my God. Do y'all hear me? So it didn't deny him the leadership, and it didn't deny Caleb what he was going to get, but because of those they associated with, they had to wait. Look at yourself and say, am I waiting on anybody or am I waiting on myself? Who's affecting your stuff? Who's affecting your move? Before you blame somebody else, look in the mirror and say, who's affecting my move? And if you're tired of it, look in the mirror and say, I'm going to slap the first person I see. They had to wait because of unbelief. But God never goes back on his promise. Tell somebody he never does. And see, what you have to understand is when he chose Joshua and Caleb to go in, see, they had seen the promised land. They had tasted the promised land. They brought back evidence of the promised land so the people can taste, but they fully engaged in the promise. Are y'all following me? They were there. They walked the land. Now, if I was Caleb, I would have walked over and said, oh, that's my mountain right there. That's my people going to be right there. That's the place I want right there. Let me walk on over there. Y'all wait for me. Let me go and spy out this little area here. Come on, y'all. Y'all don't do that? I'm going to drive down the street. Ooh, look at that house. Come back late at night, step on the grass with your shoes off, and come back. Ooh, I touched my land. Y'all don't do that stuff. Y'all better get some hope in your hearts and start going and getting what belongs to you, declaring and decreeing that this belongs to me. I don't care where it is. Y'all, see, you got to have a different spirit. You can't be like the status quo. Well, as soon as the Lord bless, I'm not waiting. I'm going to see what did Deborah say? I'm going to see the king. Even if it costs me my life. Because my life ain't worth it anyway if I can't see the king. Whatever God has for you is for you. If you want to dismiss it, dismiss it. But I'm going to see it. I'm not going to hang out with you and say, come on now, let's go. We're getting a little closer to the promise. I'm going to say, see you later. When you get yourself together, call me because I'm going to be in my promise. So they had to wait. And because of their unbelief, 40 years they had to wait for their promise. Caleb said, God made me a promise when I was a young man. I got right to the door of the promise, tasted the promise, saw my land, and because those around me, I had to wait another 40 years. Now, I would have had some kind of attitude. And every time we had a funeral, yep, I'm one more day closer. Day out of here. Come on, the next one, Lord. Die them off faster. So come on, y'all ain't playing with me in here. I got to wait 40 years, and that means all of those people have to die, and you got them long life people. You're like, oh, my God, when are you going to die? Because I'm ready for my promise. Y'all ain't hearing me. So they had to wait and wait. And not only that, while they're going through the 40 years in the wilderness, we ain't even got no food. Come on, somebody. So God now gives us manna from heaven, and that ain't even good enough. Them same people complain and say, where's bread? Where's the meat? Oh, my God. God gives them the quail, and now these are sure small birds. I'm used to some big And Caleb and Joshua have to endure this for 40 years, complaining about God, even though God is providing. Not one shoe had to be replaced in 40 years. Not one coat had to be replaced in 40 years. I know you got tired of the same color, but it still was brand new. Not one time did they say, shucks, God, I'm sorry. And maybe God would have changed his heart and said, okay, let's go. But they complained for 40 years. And here it is. Let me just talk to the black folk for a minute. Quit complaining. You are in the land of opportunity. There is no man holding down your neck. Color means nothing. You have to look at yourself and say, this is my right. I'm going. If somebody comes in the front and you say, you don't belong here, you're right, because I owned it. You don't belong here. Because this is my right. This is my inheritance. I got as much right to this place as anybody else. And I don't have to get mad, nasty, talk dirty to you. All I got to do is look at you and smile. You don't know who my daddy is. Oh, you don't? Listen, we was out on vacation. This gentleman walked up to me. We just walked down the street. And he shook my hand and said, I had on a Nike shirt. He said, oh, thank you for buying that Nike shirt. You just boosted up my stock. I shake his hand and great. As I walk by, I said, he only got one stock in Nike, and he's trying to jump bad. Y'all missed that. So because I'm a black man and a designer, you think a certain way, but it's not true. So I said, well, good, yeah. As you walk away in Under Armour, I have stock in Under Armour. Thank you. Be quiet. Nobody needs to know your experience. If you're a millionaire, be good. Keep going. If you flash it, then yes, you're going to get robbed. Why are you surprised? You're flashing it. So therefore, I'm coming for it. Why? Because my mentality is lack, limitation, and scarcity, and you got plenty. Oh, y'all hear me? So Caleb them said, okay, enough of this. And then it comes 40 years later, we're getting ready to go, and Caleb said, wait a minute. Joshua, hold on. Don't divvy up nothing. Because I'm getting mine first. Because I was there when God promised that I can have this. So after I get mine, you can divvy that stuff up all however you want. But I want what God has given me. Why? Because a different spirit stands on the fact of truth. What did God promise me? I don't care how long it is. Don't you be giving up. Hold on. Don't y'all move, because I was there when the promise was made. And your generation is following it. You don't have the straight word. I have to give you the direct words of the promise because I was there, and that's mine. So y'all can move all around it and pick all around it, but that belongs to me. Oh, y'all ain't hearing me in here. See, y'all, we have been conditioned to believe that, well, let them go get theirs first. No, that's not how this is working. Let them be patient like I was patient 40 years. Come on, somebody. I'm going to get mine first. I was the one who's... I started this thing, and I'm going to get mine first. Now, y'all could go, because see what happens, y'all. Let them, no. I wanted a wing. All the wings gone, you should have got the wing. That's what you like. The other people don't care. They just take in, all of that's there, give me 5 wings. Okay. No. I'm getting in this line right here. Oh, 2 or 3? Okay, I'm good, 2 or 3. Or first, preferably. But I'm not being number 19. That's false humility. You know you want a wing. Why are you going to wait number 19? That's false humility. Do you understand me? Well, I'm going to let all the other people get theirs. That's false humility. No, we all getting in the line, and where you get in, that's where you're going to get. Why should I sacrifice my stuff for you who dilly-dally? In unbelief, because if you believe, you would have been right up in the front. Come on, somebody. Now, because we here to serve. I'm going to serve after I eat. I know I'm here to serve. But I also know what I've been through for you to enjoy this experience. And my work for this experience should be rewarded. Come on, somebody. And that's what we have. Oh, God. As a people, we need to understand. Quit backing your stuff off. Your stuff is just as important as anybody else's stuff. Quit with the false humility. When it happens, I'm going right in line. Oh, baby, move, let them go. No. Did not the line start? How come we had enough sense to get in the line? Well, you know, they think it's privilege. No, you think it's privilege, and you allow them to get in. Y'all missed that too. There's no such thing as white privilege or black privilege. It's what you're thinking. So when you see it happen, you move out of the way and then talk trash about it. No, you moved. Let me get back to my message. Y'all ain't hearing. And so let's talk about the different spirit. When God says that Caleb had a different spirit, this different spirit in context is talking different. He's not talking about a different Holy Spirit or anything like that. In context, he is talking about Caleb's mindset, his attitude, his energy, and his attitude towards truth. That's why he had a different spirit. That means that his attitude about truth wasn't wavering. His mindset, it was true to God. He made me a promise. He had an attitude that I am a child of God, and he made me a promise, and I'm going to get what he said. I don't care who in the land. So the different spirit means that he was hopeful. He was hopeful. Hopeful in this context is different from what we have been conditioned to believe. Y'all ready? Hopeful to us means a high probability, optimistic outlook. That's what it means to us. Hopeful in the Bible means a confident expectation of God, confident expectation of a promise, and the confident expectation of receiving. In other words, it's not, well, you know, I'm hopeful it'll work in my favor. That's how we think. Hopeful in the Bible means, well, that's what he told me. That's what the promise said. You think it's going to happen? Nah, that ain't got nothing to do with it. That's what he promised. So what I think about it is irrelevant. I just got to believe in the truth and what God said. So Caleb says, well, I don't care about all of that. I know what God said. This is what God said. And even though I'm now 45 years older than then, I still want my mountain. He said, as the day when we first got it, as young and strong as I was, I surely got the strength now because that's what he promised me. Because see, if he had let age been a factor, he would have said, I don't know, maybe I'll get a smaller parcel this time. He said, no, cursing spirit almost got me. The heck with that. I want everything that God promised me. I'm 85 years old, and I want it all. Everything that God promised me, I want it. See, we got a downsized mentality where I'm just going to, I don't really need that much now because I'm old. No, I want it all. I want it all. Well, you walking with a crutch. I don't care what I'm walking with. When I sit down in the Lamborghini, it takes my right foot to push on the gas and the left foot to hold the clutch. How hard is that? Do you understand me? Caleb said, I am hopeful. He believed that God is going to deliver on his promise. That's what hopeful in the Bible means. God is going to deliver. What is his promise says? Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but he delivered them out of them. Stuff you're in because you don't believe the promise, you're still in it. That's a promise. I will deliver you. Those who are in this perpetual storm or this perpetual darkness, it's because you don't believe. What do you don't believe? He will deliver you out of them all. So tell somebody you got to be hopeful. Like the Bible says. What does truth promise you? What are the promises? There's over 3,000 promises in the Bible. How do they affect you? How do you believe them? It didn't matter what Caleb's circumstances were or what yours may be today. You have to believe in truth. Tell somebody, I'm hopeful because I got a different spirit. God made me a promise, and that's what I'm expecting. How it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, ain't got nothing to do with that. He made the promise. The second thing the different spirit means is Caleb had expectation. See, he had already tasted the promised land. And for 40 years, he had to live on the fumes of what he had experienced. No matter what happened, he had to live on the fumes. No matter how they were treated, people treated them, wars, rumors of wars, this, that. He had to live on the fumes knowing that this is what God said, I'm going to expect it. Even though he had to wander with the unbelievers for 40 years, he still expected to get what God promised. See, you got around some people who don't believe like you believe. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you can't allow their belief to become your belief. And that's what happens to us. We get around people and we start to believe like them. You can't allow, you have to have a different spirit. Listen to them and say, oh, girl, yeah. Oh, my goodness. And keep it moving. Don't let that stuff get down and marinate in your mind and you become a believer, an unbeliever like them. You know what God promised you. Tell me this. How can God promise you God did not even talk to about you, convince you that's not true? How we get there? You mean to tell me God told me this, and Joe comes up and talk about, I said, well, you know, God told me that. Well, you know, I've been down that street, and it didn't work out too well. How does that opinion now comes your faith? They've been down that street. Well, it wasn't your street, maybe. Because you were on my street. Now get back on your street and get out of my way because I'm going to do this. Y'all hear me? You can't allow the opinions of others to change your faith. Let me say it again. You cannot allow the opinion of others to change your faith. Listen, there's not one person on this earth that can tell you what to believe about God. Not one. I don't care the Pope. I don't care who you talk to. There's not one person on this earth that can tell you what to believe about God. That has to come from inside of you. And whenever somebody's talking to me and I'm like, yeah, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, Jesus. Oh, well, God bless you. Go ahead now. Because I'm not about to wrap myself in that because I know what God told me. And if I stick around you long enough, I'm going to start. No. And I was asked this question about friends. And I said, well, I don't have too many of them. And I had to quash the leading lady because she about to tell the whole story. He ain't got none. Let me stop. And they were asking, how many friends do you have? I said, why don't you not have too many? I said, because that's a big word to use. I said, I have many acquaintances. But when it comes to friend, that I don't really. I said, why? It's because a friend can hear what I say, but don't judge. A friend will hear me and don't try to convince me otherwise. Why? Because a friend knows my journey. And they understand that's my journey. However you're going to get on this road, I'm going to be here to support you. But that's your journey. And if you want to go to the left, there's nothing wrong with taking a little whipping to go over there. Because the whipping always brings you back home. Come on, somebody. But I'm not going to waste my energy trying to convince you otherwise. Why? Because who was it? He says, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion. Winston Churchill. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So it doesn't matter what you say. They are of the what? So quit using your energy. Listen. Be supportive. To you, you said, oh, that ain't going to work. You don't have to share it. Just when they get beat up, you said, girl, come on, I got a Band-Aid for you. Well, how you know I needed a Band-Aid, girl? I got a head wrap and everything because I know that wasn't going to work. Let me stop. Be supportive. Because everybody is on their own journey, have to find their own way. Even your children. They cannot be what you want them to be. Let them experience life and become who God created them to be. So you saying that your kid's grown. Yeah, but they're still painful. You have to have expectation. Here it is. He expected God to deliver, so therefore God had to deliver. He wasn't looking for it. Ooh, when God gonna bless me? He wasn't looking for it. Why? Because the promise says the blessings will overtake you. So if you are looking for your promise, he can't overtake you because you're seeing when it comes. Keep moving forward and they will overtake you. Don't look for the blessings because that's a promise. He said, I will bless you. It is me that gives you the power to get wealth. That's a promise. So therefore you have to move. Don't look for it. Let it overtake you. Because as I'm walking, I know the promise says they have to overtake me. I don't have to look back and see, well, I did all of this and I ain't getting nothing of it. Because you're looking. And if you're looking for the blessings, you're turning around, so it's already past you. It did overtake you. Like the children of Israel, you couldn't see it. My God. And the last thing a different spirit means is you had to have patience. Tell somebody, he waited 45 years. Be patient. Don't try to rush God. Listen. Hebrews 10:36 says, we have need of patience that after you've done the will of God, you receive the promise. So what it's telling us is that it's coming, but you have to trust God. You have to know what the promise is. And therefore, I expect the promise to happen. I don't have to look for it. I expect it to happen. So therefore, when it comes, it comes. We flew out. We got off we were walking down the street, and this young kids, maybe a little older than Justice. There was 3 of them. And they said, hey. He said, hey. He said, how y'all doing? I said, we're fine. Oh, y'all look so happy. Because we are. Can we pray for y'all? I said, well, shucks on mighty. Let's go and let's pray. He said, girl, you pray. And the youngest one, you pray. And that little girl threw up a prayer. She wasn't little, but she threw up a prayer. I opened my eyes and was just looking at her. Let me tell you something. No matter where you're going, God will show you a sign. And the 3 little young, they were powerful. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And of course, Pastor V, we pastors, the girls start to pray even harder. I said, Lord Jesus. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't have to go and try to look for God. God is there before you get there. And when you are in the presence and you have expectation, you're expecting things to go right. You're expecting this to work out for my good. I'm expecting I didn't find a parking space, so this is going to happen. You ought to be expecting God. Don't look for him, expect him. Everything you see, expect him. No matter where you find yourself, expect him. Expect him to move. Expect him to open the door. You should walk around with that expectation that I'm going to see the glory of the God today. That's the expectation you have to have. As you walk out your purpose, everything will make way for you. Now, that's the nugget of the week. As you walk out your purpose, everything will make way for you. Do you understand? If I'm walking out my purpose, it is God's job to make way. To move this, open this, push this, pull this. And here it is. And when you come into an obstacle, stop back, take a deep breath, and say, Spirit, what did we do? Over, under, or around? Why? Because we have been taught, you better bulldoze everything in your way. No. It's an obstacle. It's an inanimate object. It ain't moving. So you're either going under, over, or around. Set yourself. Spirit, what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to the around. Oh, left or right? Right. Okay, we're going to the right. And the next obstacle is coming. You might have to go under. The next obstacle is coming. You might have to go over. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you have to expect God in your way. If it's an obstacle coming, you should say, okay, clearly I'm prepared for this. So who runs the obstacle course and don't know the obstacle? Your life is an obstacle course. You are prepared before you hit the obstacle. You don't want to do the work of thinking back, what should I do or whatever. So you say, well, I'm going to turn around and go a different direction. Well, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to run into another obstacle. Till you learn to sit down in spirit and say, what shall we do? What work is required for this obstacle to be gone? Y'all quiet on me. Let me close with this scripture from Isaiah 40:31. They that wait upon the Lord. Tell somebody, be patient. They shall renew their strength. That's why you got to stop. Let Spirit pull you back up and refill you. Because see, you thinking when you come to, oh, I'm almost out of breath. I got to keep going. No, stop. Let Spirit renew your strength. And you shall mount up with wings as what? Tell somebody you are an eagle. You are an eagle. Quit being a chicken. Quit being a chicken. You are an eagle. You are meant to soar and go places that no other bird can. And if you go up high enough, anything that bothers you have to die off. Tell somebody, if you go into worship deep enough, anything bother you has to stop. Because they don't have permission to enter the holies of holies. Come on, somebody. You are an eagle. Fly. Quit jumping around the barnyard. You don't belong there. You were conditioned to believe that's where you should be, but you are an eagle. Do you ever wonder why you look different? Well, them chickens, some little skinny chicken. Because you're an eagle. Flap your wings and be free. Tell somebody, flap it. Stop. If you haven't used them before, the first one's going to be a little tough. They're going to take some energy. But sooner or later, you're going to get the groove. And you're going to get to moving. It only takes one, and you're going to go about 300 feet, and you say, oh, shucks, I think I got the hang of this. And here's the thing. Not only do you learn to fly higher, but you learn how to dive with accuracy and pluck your blessings and keep moving. Come on, somebody. See, you landing and all the thing and trying to be like a chicken. An eagle's perspective sees the whole land, and they are very selective about what they eat. And so when they take the dive, they may see something a mile away and start in position to pull up the speed. So when I get this blessing, I'm going to lift up because I'm going from glory to glory. I can't stay in here long. And they snatch it and keep going till they get back home. Tell somebody, we're going from glory to glory. You are an eagle. Learn how to fly like an eagle. Tell somebody, because I got a different spirit. I'm hopeful. I expect God to do it. Tell somebody, I expect God to do it. No, tell somebody else, I expect him to do it. Tell them, I expect him to do it. Y'all ain't hearing me. Tell somebody like you mean it. I expect him to do it. And with patience, I'm going to wait on him. Why? Because he can't lie. So therefore, I already know he has to do it. So I just have to be patient in my experience because he's going to do it. Our fear is it's going to take 40 years. If you believe that, then check who you're around. Because if it holds up for 40 years, somebody's not thinking right. If it holds up for 40 years, somebody around you or you don't have a different spirit. God bless you.
Amen. Amen. Let's give our God some praise.